Good evening, everyone. Tonight we are here reunited to have a debate in order to discuss one very important topic nowadays. We are aware that globalization has made a huge impact in everyone's lives, either positive or negative. It affects economy, art, politics, and even culture. So our debate is regards to is globalization a threat to cultural tradition? Laura Morales is against this statement. Laura, I would like to hear you.
Hello, everyone, and thanks. I have to say that globalization is not a threat. In fact, I enhance cultural tradition in a way that it can be known not only locally but all around the globe. For us to see the benefit of globalization, we have to know the aspects this world brings with it. In the world that we are living, globalization is not something from the past or the future. It's something that certainly happens now in our everyday lives, our present. It is well known that cultural traditions are being lost through the pass of time, but we can't just blame it on globalization. In fact, globalization could actually be one of the solutions to keep them running, keeping tradition present with all the technology that we have now. It's a helping hand for the conservation of a future with a well known history of cultural tradition. It also helps let people from all over the world know more about these cultures.
Very good. Now let's hear some from the counterpart, Laura Gonzalez and me, Julie Basto, who are in favor of the statement. Um, I'm afraid that even though your affirmations might be true, my opinion is that cultural traditions are still being lost with time, and globalization is clearly something that we can blame for that. For instance, the internet. It is a tool that is spread all over the world, which means that we can acquire knowledge about other cultures easily. You would think that people would like to become more in contact with their own, but it is especially Western culture what we see the most on the internet. People are consuming it more and more often. The world is seeing that Western traditions and celebrations are the main events, and you can see many people celebrating those holidays as if they were their own. I think this is a case of control of cultural autonomy. I don't know if you understand my point. What do you think about that, Laura?
It is true that technology is advancing at a surprising pace and provide us with tools to interconnect in a more simple way with the outside, talking about other countries and cultures. But this doesn't mean that being one of the main factors of globalization threatens the cultural identity that represents each region or even each person. The other way around, it offers the opportunity to enter another culture, to learn from it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we forget ours. Why not to participate of the activities of celebrations offered by another culture? Whether it is a sign of respect or pleasure, I do not consider it to be a direct threat to our cultural traditions. I think it is more related to a new globalized culture that can end social barriers that represent great problems today.
All right, I think that is a very valid point of view, but we haven't heard everybody.
Well, good evening, everyone. From my point of view, globalization brings many problems to our community, and it causes it to be really affected by several aspects, such as the accumulation of capital centered only in developed countries. This brings an immense inequality of conditions between developed and undeveloped countries. We must also bear in mind that globalization brings us very large employment rate within the country. As foreign companies arrive, which will always benefit more high economical workforce. In addition to this existence of an inequality between nations because there are always more benefit by large companies due to the increase of capital, and the small national companies have just begun their trajectory don't have the possibility of growth. In addition to this, globalizations bring us problems such as that there will be a great deterioration of environment due to all the exploitation of natural resources. Another aspect that affects globalization is culture because due to this, national identity is affected. Because foreign brands are used, people no longer follow their culture fashion, but most those of USA, UK, Asia, and this causes the patriotic culture to deteriorate because of foreign products are preferred and the purchase and sale of national products is ignored. In addition, you can see that it that as time goes by, the customs of other countries are followed more than their own. Just like Halloween celebration, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, and more. In addition, the tradition is lost even in its own language because of being because to be globalized country and therefore developed, it's necessary to use languages that often are not used in our native language.
It is true that in the specific case of fashion, as you mentioned, there is a great influence of great powers such as America. However, this can cause a resurgence of our identity and our tradition from the point of view of innovation and entrepreneurship. Not everyone sticks to the fashion that a foreign country offers us, and in a more generalized case, to their customs. Globalization improves cultural identity, and people care much more about the particularity of its culture.
Well, maybe you're right. But as Marcelo Valle in 2010 says, Colombia is replicating ways of life of other industrialized countries like the United States. As a consequence, people do not have a proper identity. In Colombia, people follow other fashion styles, sports, music, and social attitudes, losing their customs. In addition, the social environment can also be affected due to globalization, since social inequality in the present means that in one way or another there are many limitations in the use of technologies, and others for people with scarce, scarce resource and state total poverty, and also taking into account that globalizations bring new ideas of some on some issues. And this means that in a social groups, disputes always arise due to wanting the reintroduce social values, cultures, which implanted in a different way globalization.
Well, so as you can all see, there are many posters between the advantages and disadvantages of globalization in culture, especially when we talk about our country, Colombia. And all posters are absolutely valid. However, we can conclude that the strongest point is in favor that globalization does affect the cultural identity and does represent a threat, especially in underdeveloped countries, because no matter how much we are making the effort of not letting it erase our traditions, other cultures are making an interest in ours in many ways that are simply impossible to avoid. So I think we must, as individuals, try to preserve our heritage and not let forget our culture. Thank you very much for assisting the debate, and I will see you next time.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.